coming on to something in your heart. And I think that's the Holy Spirit that had you write down those 3 words like that. And I think that what you said is great, and I think he's going to keep showing you stuff about that. But yeah, right standing with God isn't now I've obeyed some law and now I have right standing with God.
Right.
You know, I talked about this a long time ago, the righteousness that's in the Godhead.
Yeah.
Righteousness existed before man could ever have fallen. And so if you want to define righteousness, you have to define it within the parameters of the Godhead.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to look at the Father, Son, and Spirit having righteousness, right? And if you want to look at it in terms of right standing, what gives them right standing? They all have life.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what righteousness deep down is actually talking about. Or right, if you look at it just from the standpoint of right standing.
Yeah.
Do you possess life or not? It has nothing to do with what God feels for a person, as whether their personhood is acceptable to him.
Mm-hmm.
It's about whether it's acceptable to him that they have life. And if you even read the very first definition of the word for righteousness, state, starts off with state, not identity. Doesn't say the identity of him who is acceptable to God. It says the state. Well, what states are there? The state of life and the state of death. Those are the 2 states. Okay? State of him who is as he ought to be. Righteousness. The condition acceptable to God. Now, we've been so busy thinking that our personhood was the problem, that we missed this completely. But it was the condition of man that was not acceptable to God. And the condition wasn't that their behavior was bad and they were sneaking out of the house and it made him angry that they were sneaking out of the house and getting hammered.
Yeah.
The condition was that they didn't possess life. And he created them for life, but they had death. It wasn't the fruit. It was the state of, do you have life or do you not have life? That's the thing. He who has the Son has life.
Right.
He who does not have the Son does not have life. He who does not have the Son, their personhood is acceptable to God. God's fully satisfied with the life and fellowship he can have with them. But the condition of he who doesn't have the Son is not acceptable to God, because God can never be happy if a person is perishing.
Right.
He doesn't desire that any should perish.
Right.
And that's why the condition wouldn't be acceptable to God. It isn't that God becomes angry that they don't have life, and now that's what it's talking about. No, it's that he wants them to have life. Like when I was dying on the hospital bed, they had to strap me down and shove coal down my throat to keep me from dying and to resuscitate me. Man, the condition I was in was unacceptable to my parents. But if you would have had George Soros up in there offering my parents $3 billion to take me as his son, and that they could just get rid of me, I guarantee you they would have had nothing to do with it. Because the state or the condition that I was in is what was unacceptable.
Right.
Not that I was their son.
Right.
Do you see?
Yep.
It wasn't that now my personhood was unacceptable. It wasn't now like Greg was unacceptable because he was dying. It wasn't that. It was the condition of Greg dying that was unacceptable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Big difference,
Huge
man.
difference.
Gigantic difference, especially in the hearts of human beings who listen, we can put a bunch of different names on it, but there's an orphan spirit in the world. And that spirit is born from the idea that we don't have life.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't have life, that makes us think we've been orphaned in the world. Because we know God has life. And if I don't have life, then that must mean that guy's abandoned me.
Yeah. Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what that whole idea with the identity thing does. But that's beautiful what you said, John. I like that. It sounds like a revelation has come to you and will continue to be born in you. But these words are all different, and we've used them like interchangeably. Like we've used redemption and salvation interchangeably.
Yes.
As if they're the same thing. And because we've done that, people get confused. I come and talk about how God redeemed the whole world, and everybody thinks I'm saying God, everybody's saved.
Yeah.
That's not what it means.
Right.
To be redeemed doesn't mean to be saved.
Right. Well, and even using the word saved doesn't mean
Right.
salvation every time.
When you say